I do this every Sunday, and then every Sunday I do like different things. I'm sorry about that. I just have to do one thing here. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful, beautiful Sunday full of sun, just penetrating our soul and our heart. So hope everybody's warmed and hugged by Jesus Christ. And then before we start our announcements today, Dave, do you want to do our opening prayer, my friend?
Good morning, Lord. Thank you for having us gather together here. Thank you for the benefits we've received from the guidance from our mentors and our friends. Thank you for the opportunities to reach out to others and set examples to help them in life and guide them. We appreciate all the help that we get, and especially we appreciate the patience where we don't always apply what we've read and heard, and you are so kind to let us keep going at it and improve. Thank you to the mentors of our group, the spirits, our guides. So be it.
So be it. Thank you, dear Dave. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody to Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. As we always say, we respect all religions and spiritual traditions. We are a non-denominational company, but we are also part of the United States Spiritist Federation. So our beliefs are around scientific, philosophical, and religious principles of the Spiritism. And we study books that decodified the Spiritism and everything that came after that. Emmanuel, the spirit mentor, taught us that knowledge and knowledge and love are the two wings for our spiritual awakening, for the awakening of our own conscience. So you will see that this work it's split into two parts. The first one we are going to have a speaker, and the second one is a hands-on healing where we are going to receive passes and then our waters are going to be magnetized. So for the speaking part, I always like to remind us that your participation is important. Practice the active listening. While you are listening, your mentor is already working with you and it's helping for you to download the messages that are important for you to reflect along your week. So take notes, write down these statements that stood up for you, so then you can keep working on your inner transformation, because our journey is all about us getting better. So this is really, really important. And just a reminder for all the services that we have. So we have daily prayers when we know that it is in giving that we receive. This was said by St. Francis of Assisi. So we invite you to join us in this daily emanation that we do for planet Earth. So then we can support all the brothers and sisters that are suffering. So from Monday to Friday, every 6 p.m. on the Pacific time, and on Saturdays at 11:30, you can join us, and 15-20 minutes we do our prayer. You will meet us on this Zoom link or on YouTube at BSH, and I am going to tap down all the links for you. We also have fraternal counseling, and this fraternal counseling is just a moment for you to vent, to open your heart, to just share what's going on. We know that the pandemic has brought a lot of reflection for us. We are all still locked down, and even if you feel comfortable with your vaccination, there are a lot of people that are struggling to manage their losses and everything. So please feel free to join us every Wednesday at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. You will speak with one person. This is individual meetings. All you have to do is just send us a request with the time that you are willing to talk, and there will be someone here, even if you want just to do a prayer together. So we are here for you. In terms of classes, we still have inner transformation. So again, with Emmanuel in the book Thought and Life, he told us that evolution demands that we develop new habits, that we detach ourselves from lower forms and walk toward higher stages of existence. And we all know that detaching old habits, it's not an easy task at all. So feel free to join us in this hearts and forces so then we can understand how the high spirituality helps us for us to succeed in this journey. So this class is given by our dear sister Sunshine through Divine Light. So this happens every first and third Tuesdays of the month from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I will write down the link. We also have a book study group for the Spirits book. This is the first book that Allan Kardec wrote with like a huge series, and it unveiled incredible details from the spiritual world through more than 1,000 questions. So if you think that you have a question, maybe some of those can match with your curiosity. Every Thursday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. with our sister Duska, also in this Zoom link. And then right after this book study group, we also have another book that we are studying. Is Happy Life from Joana de Angelis through Divaldo Franco. It's an amazing book, very short, but very intense and very reflective, I would say. My family, we use that on our Gospel at Home. It's really an amazing book. So you are invited to join us 30 minutes from 7:30 to 8 p.m. Through Divine Light and BSH YouTube. We just finished introduction to Spiritism, so heads up, we might start soon. And we also finished the music classes as well, so we might have news coming soon. But we still have Spiritism for the youth, which is just a beautiful and very special way of bringing Jesus's messages to our children. So join us to support the next generation in this path. This one takes every second and fourth Sunday of each month. This month we will have next Sunday. So instead of second and fourth, this month specifically would be third, first and third. And this one is with our friend Brian Abiu via BSH Zoom. And we also have the Gospel According to Spiritism. So, and this one is from the Spirit's teachings. So very interesting. This is the way that we are understanding Jesus's lessons with the lens of the Spiritism, with the explanation from the high spirituality. So this class is an offering from Divine Light in collaboration with BSH. And this one is taken every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific time with our sister Sunshine Beck. So there are plenty of opportunities for us to be together, for us to learn and for us to share. So please join us. And I will introduce our friend that will be speaking today for the very first time at BSH. So thank you very much, Charles Avelar. Most of you already know him. And he will be speaking about Blessed Are the Afflicted. For those who don't know about Charles, he's a student of Spiritism and its doctrine as postulated by Allan Kardec. Also interested in understanding the contributions of numerous divine messengers that, throughout our human history, have brought to our attention hints to the universal gospel. Resident of California since 1986, collaborator of the Euripides Barçanufo Spiritist Center and Blossom Spiritist Society of Los Angeles, and a worker at Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. He has master's degree in clinical psychology in Brazil at the Federal University of Minas Gerais, and educational psychology, marriage and family therapy, and certified K-12 school counselor at CSU Northridge. So we have a very knowledgeable and busy friend, and please help me to welcome here so he can feel this warm welcome, hugging him and giving you all the positive vibration for this speak. Thank you, my dear friend.
Thank you, Kiki. Thank you, everybody. So, dear friends, just before I start, I ask for your indulgence and allow me to say this, that we are together, united in thought. Let's elevate our spiritual self, seeking the vibration to vibrate in harmony with the divine love. Divine love that is source and cause of all creation. Sages of all religions, we bow to you all. It is with our heart vibrating gratitude we acknowledge your intelligence and wisdom. We humbly evoke the presence of our protector spirits, our spiritual mentors, and friends to assist us in this moment of study of Jesus' teaching, that our minds be open to the understanding well its superior spirits, meaning that the energies he generated be of spiritual value, emanating from our being to all those connected to us by the bonds of family, friendship, and fraternal brotherhood. So, with this beginning, I'm going to share the screen and start my brief presentation.
We can see our screen, friend.
Okay, good. Okay, here you go. Second. I'm moving.
It's not, maybe you want to go with your mouse, because pressing enter sometimes it doesn't go.
Right. That's my affliction right now.
Do you have your mouse over the presentation?
Yeah. Hold
So
on.
if you go to the left down, yeah, we can see your cursor now. So if you, yeah.
So, in the first, I truly say to you, the time has come when all things must be restored in the true sense to the dispel darkness, to confound the proud, and to glorify the righteous. That is on the first paragraph of a message of the Spirit of the Truth on the book, the Gospel according to Spiritism. So very important to understand that today, these days, the time has come that we have reached the level of maturity that allow us to further understand the divine truth that we are all experiencing because we are part of this huge universal gospel. As a disclaimer, the Spiritist gospel, far from being a religious code, is the way to awake the potentials of the souls, to reconnect with our Creator, and to re-encounter the divine in us. Again, the Spirit of Truth. Personally, I consider myself to be an imperfect student of Jesus' teachings, attempting to master Kardec's recommendation to examine everything, retain the good. That leads me to this interesting quote from Bezerra de Menezes, recently posted on our groups. And it's very important to us for us to understand this. We must preserve, honor, and exalt the Spiritist principles. Otherwise, we may end up either as strangers to one another or frozen in regimentation, which will cripple our best yearnings, turning the movement of liberation into a stagnant sect, imprisoned in new interpretations and theologies, which would place us conveniently at the mercy of the inferior planes and would distance us from the truth. So this warning was given to us not just by Bezerra, by Allan Kardec, just calling our attention to be careful when we are proposing to disseminate the teachings of the Spiritist doctrine, because when we fail and give it a personal interpretation, we are taking the risk of impregnating it with our personal lack of understanding of those teachings. So it is important, and it is our responsibility as workers of the message of Jesus to be honest and fidel to the teachings. So this cautionary word from Bezerra applies to every single spiritist, ourselves included. So I invite you to consider and to understand the implications of this. I personally love to study the contributions of others, divine messengers. I mean, I'm talking about Buddha, I'm talking about Martin Luther King, everyone that came and brought pieces and beats of the universal truth. So, however, when we represent the Spiritist doctrine, it's important that we have full understand of its basic principles. So, affliction, what is it? As I said, by giving this presentation, I'm going through my own affliction because the anxiety rises, the expectation rises, being the first presentation to such an honorable group. So my responsibility is double or triple. You name it. So I disguise it sometimes with human. However, it's an affliction. It's a way of suffering. So the definition in the dictionary, the Merriam-Webster, affliction is a cause of persistent pain or distress. So something that is mysterious, that we don't know for sure. A second definition is a great suffering of the body, or mind. I think my affliction right now applies into this one. 3, the state of being afflicted by something that causes suffering. So after affliction with polio, for example, a disease, a COVID-19, and so on. So affliction is anything that causes us to struggle, to suffer internally, intellectually, morally. As synonymous, we have all these words that like agony, anguish, crucible, distress, and so on, tribulation, unhappiness. As antonyms, we would go with comfort, consolation, solace, alleviation, ease, relief, peace, well being. So far, so good. On the Buddha's teachings, we encounter these definitions of causes of tribulations. As you can see, they may be different, however, just the same. 1, ignorance, attachment, selfishness, aversion, and fear. So those are the 5 poisons known as kleshas on the Spiritist doctrine, on the Buddhist doctrine. However, on the Gospel according to Spiritism, we have some explanations that talks about justice of afflictions. It starts with the compensations that Jesus promises to the afflicted of the earth can only take place in the future. So the teachings of Jesus talking about the future life, the future blessings, the beatitudes, it can only happen in the future, not at this time. So without the certainty of this future, these maxims would be nonsense. More than that, they would be a delusion. So one wonders why some suffer more than others, why some are born in misery, while others in opulence. So we are accustomed to understand afflictions as that. Why that one has so much and I have so little? Is that truly a divine justice? So that's some of the concepts that we grew up with by this not so clear understanding what Jesus meant when he explained these lessons about the justice of afflictions. So the vicissitudes of life have a cause, and since God is always just, such cause must be just. That's the bottom line. Current causes of afflictions, the vicissitudes of life of 2 kinds: current life and outside of this life. That's how Spiritism explains to us the reasons for our present state of affliction. In the book Religion of the Spirits, which is psychographic by Chico Xavier, by Emmanuel, it is a result of a number of study sessions realized in the late 1950s, so 1958, 59, and by this group of study group, they study the Spirit's books messages. And every after week session, the mentor Emmanuel would, through Chico Xavier, give us messages. And the book, I don't think it's yet translated into English. However, it gives Emmanuel's and the Spirit's perspectives on the messages of the Spirit's book. On the chapter 10, that is called Examine Your Own Affliction. So if we want to understand what's my affliction, what's the cause of the kind of sufferings that I'm going through in life, it is important for me to examine my own afflictions. So here on chapter 10, it has something really interesting. If we are suffer of selfishness, so the affliction of selfishness is called egolatry. So it's the excessive attention we're giving to ourselves. It's all about our ego. Everything that we do is to satisfy our need of something, of recognition, our need for attention, and therefore we suffer from the affliction of selfishness. Addiction, it has to do with a delinquent state that we're still navigating through. So those of us at some point that have become afflicted by addiction, all kinds of addictions, food, drink, drugs, anything. It has to do that we are still experiencing the process of delinquency. So that's our challenge. That's our purpose is to overcome that. The affliction of aggressiveness has to do with cholera. The affliction of crime, it's about remorse. Fanaticism has to do with intolerance. Escape, it's about cowardice. And envy, it's about spite. So he goes on and brings more examples for our reflection. So, levity, I mean, dealing with issues of vain, of something that is not really relevant. However, it has to do with foolishness. Indiscipline has to do with disorder. When we're dealing with violence, it reflects our state of brutality that we're still connected with our primitive states. Laziness, it's called rebellion. Relaxation, or too laissez-faire, it's evasive. Indifference has to do with discouragement. Unfitness, complaints. Jealousy, despair, impatience, disorder, stinginess, intemperance, injustice, cruelty. It is to understand that each creature has its own affliction. The affliction of the domestic realm and the professional sphere. The reasoning of feeling. So the affliction of reasoning and the feelings. Before I get into this, I just would like to ask any question at this point, anything that we ought to go back and clarify. Okay. So the entire lesson, which I strongly suggest you to read again, chapter 5 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, is to understand that it is all about the good and bad suffering. The suffering, according to Buddhist teachings, has to do with growing, the growing process. A plant from its seedy state to become a full tree goes through a process of growing, and that's considered suffering. So anything that is to exercise the expansion of our uh, talents, our moral values, it has to do with the good or bad acceptance of that process. So when we are under the state of affliction, what's important is how we manage it, how we overcome whatever difficulty that is. So it's very important to understand this aspect of the lesson. So good suffering it has to do is that how am I tolerating my present moment in my existence? How am I dealing to overcome it? Do I have what it takes to accept the challenges and overcome it in a way that is constructive, not just to myself, but also to all those around me? I think this is an interesting point that we can see all over the examples of good and bad suffering. The ultimate example is our brother Jesus, when he was arrested, tortured, crucified, and endured the suffering without any kind of negative reaction. So, if that is not an ultimate example, I don't know what could be. And so many others. Uh, we can find example in our history, human history. Saint Francis, suffering from blindness, suffering from all kinds of physical ailments, but is still maintaining that level of understanding that is so important for us to copy or to attempt to follow their footsteps. So, voluntary torments. Voluntary torments has to do with the choices of trials that we, before reincarnating, agree to endure as a way to overcome our own difficulties. So, if the cause of our suffering is in the present life, it is in the present life that we need to seek the source of that misunderstanding.
Hi, Mommy. Hey, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Just a second, Mama.
I'm sorry, I have an open mic. But anyways, so the voluntary torments are personal choices that we make, and we are here to overcome it. And part of that choice has to do with the family that we've been born in, the many friends that we come across throughout our lives. Every single one of us are part of each other's agreement to come to this realm of physical life and support each other on the process of healing ourselves. So that's the reflection of what's meant to be fraternal love. So every single one of us, they are here, responsible for our own personal experiences. However, we have a degree of commitment and responsibility to each other. And the best way for us to assist each other is by making sure that our personal development is continuous, is evolving. So that's how best we can help each other, by improving ourselves. Because the real misfortune is exactly that, not doing that, neglecting the significance of our lives, of our responsibilities to be responsible for our personal development, and not really engage in the process of what we call inner transformation, which is a core message of the gospel, is for us to invest in ourselves. What's the best way to evolve? Is to know thyself. So that was given to us. And so many lives we have gone through, and we have not reached that level where it would be not necessary for our reincarnation in this plane. We are facing now with a concrete example of a collective purification process. This pandemic, the COVID-19, which is not just an individual challenge, but a global challenge, represents exactly that. Because we're not going to be evolving because of the virus itself or by an earthquake or by a war. No, our development, our evolvement has to do with how we go through it, how we suffer, how we overcome it. So I think that's important for understand that the real change is not from the outside, it's from the inside. It has been discussed that epidemics as such, even worse than this one, like the 1914 one, the Spanish, what is the Spanish flu? It was a moment of evolution. However, after enduring 3 or 5 years of that epidemic throughout the world with hundreds and millions of people that died, I don't know, it was hundreds? A bunch of people died. However, people, after it was, the virus had dissipated, people came back to do the same as they were doing before. So there was no major change in the collective. So what happened then? A few years later, we had the First World War. Again, the war came. We continued to act the same way, very selfishly. And then what happened? A Second World War happened. So we do have responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to collective. So it is important that what we do be an example for everybody else. By the way, is the best way of teaching something is by doing it yourself. So these are some points that we could probably take several days to explain in detail everything. We know that back in March, Tanya has given presentations on this chapter. It was very interesting. And we have heard about this chapter for who knows how long. So this is our moment to have a brief conversation and discuss this. So what do you say? Thank you very much for your attention. And that's my contribution for today.
Thank you, dear Charles. Thank you. You know that this, as you mentioned, we've been discussing about afflictions for a while, and I think that it's always a good reflection because, as you brought, the affliction is exactly the way that we respond to the situations that we face, right? So you have like the good affliction and the bad affliction, as you were saying, and is if we are able to finally understand our afflictions as means for us to evolve, for us to understand, for us to stretch our emotional muscles or our moral muscles, then it will we will start suffering a little bit less, although it will still hurt because we know that like we are still evolving. So I think it's really interesting also the way that you brought how other perspectives also speak about that, when you were doing that parallel between what it is and how you read that. That was very interesting because like for me, more and more, I see how important it is for us to manage our emotions. because it is in that that we have the control. And if we do not know how to manage our emotions, we will not be able to respond. Instead, we will react. And this is exactly how we do not understand the lessons, as you were saying. That's when we shift from the good affliction to the bad affliction. Um, so that was very, very interesting. And the more that I hear you say, the more I understand how important it is, again, for us to accept, right? It's and it doesn't mean for us just to be on our comfort zone, oh, my life is like this, I can't do anything to change, that's unfortunate, maybe in another life I will change. No, it is for us to do everything right now. And I think it's interesting how you brought that, like, accept but do something about that, because it is in doing that we are going to receive, what we have to, can we have what we have to really learn. So thank you, friend.
Kiki, I have a question
And
for
and
you.
the most important, sorry,
No,
taking
no,
Kiki words, and the most important is us to recognize our defects, us to recognize the effort that what we can do to go through each of them, not go through all of them, or not just to recognize that we have this defect. So what? We need to do something very important to analyze it and see which defect that we can go through first, and work on that. And if that is very challenged, the worst one is not good to go to the hard one. It's always good to go to the mild one, so we can start to work. And on the moment we pray, and the collection of prayer of the gospel according to spiritism, they will have a prayer for the guardian angel. So when we ask the guardian angel, the spiritual mentors and the spiritual friends that is around us, to please help me to go through this defect, help me to overcome this defect and bring the virtue of this defect on me. So if we go one at a time and make an effort, like you were saying, Charles, have to have discipline. And everything we do, we must have. If we don't just go, like we say, just pass a brush with a color over it, the color will be disguised by the time, and the defect will be uh, reimmersed strongly than was before. So it is knowing ourselves very well and have this strong effort to get better, to one things at a time. But like you said, do not how they say, do not wait for the next time, no, the next life. Oh no, next life I will come back and I can go over it. We have been over. If we think we are in a year 2021, 2000 years, how many lives we can have in 2000 years? Let's see, every 100 year we'll come back, or every 130 years we will come back. So far we have almost reincarnating 2000 more than 15 times. Let's put in there 20 times, 20 reincarnation into 220 years. So, oh my gosh, how many we have to go through more? We need to wake up right now, no? Thank you, Charles. Thank you.
I just want to say something that's making me laugh. Because we think of affliction as these huge things, but it can vary from very tiny affliction to gigantic ones. For example, when you're about to get in a shower, and that's a cold shower, that moment of stepping in, it's a moment of affliction. So how do you suffer in order to take that challenge, right? Now, in comparison with, let's say, driving a freeway and you have these crazy drivers in front of you, it's a moment of affliction. So, affliction is everywhere. However, how we go through it, it's a matter of our own merit. How we accomplish to, okay, be on the crazy traffic and not be affected by it. Okay. So, and the examples can be numerous. So, but each one we can volunteer, Sammy. Yeah, it's really interesting. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. And I have to say, I thank God for the opportunity to start over each day, because I tell you, I flunked my lesson the other day and I'm not proud about it. You talking about afflicted? Oh my God, my stomach was hurting. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was, you know, but that's me thinking about, oh my God, all the good beings that work with me. And I just failed this test and I knew it. And I'm happy to have that opportunity to reflect on my behavior. I really am. And I hope to be better at it the next time. Because who the heck wants to come back just because you can't say I'm sorry, or because you should just keep your mouth shut, you know? No, for a whole nother lifetime, just to learn to keep your mouth shut? No. I can do better. I know I can do better. And I plan to do better, because that did not feel good, you know? Anyway, that's my story I'm sticking to.
Charles, thank you for your present.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sunshine.
No, go ahead, Mark.
Charles, thank you for your presentation. And I want to acknowledge everyone's contributions, and hopefully it continues. You know, we began this session with a prayer. Obviously the prayer has been answered, because we're all digesting everything that was just presented to us and feeding off of each other. And I just want to say, I have just fed off of something Tanya said. So if I've lived 20 lifetimes, and since we know that prior lifetimes, sometimes you're a male, sometimes you're a female, this is true testament to the fact that men learn slowly. We all learn slowly. That's it.
Always good contributions, Mark. And I was inspired about the cold water because I took a shower this morning.
Sunshine, would you say something, dear?
Yes, well, I mean, the one thing, thank you, Kiki. The one thing that keeps coming to my mind, and that's why I'm mentioning it, is also the affliction we feel, and the importance of how to deal with it when people, loved ones, and even far and wide people discarnate, and how we resist on so many levels discarnation in our own lives, and also observing others, and how many choices we make in our lives to we can't avoid it, but to avoid dealing with it in a non-afflicted, non-suffering way. And so, affliction in that sense is also really, and actually in all senses, to see things more from a, what's the word, multidimensional perspective. Because if we really truly understand the beauty in this particular chapter, Charles, that you talked about, has several spirits teachings, helping us to put discarnation in the right perspective, and actually teaching us that we're very confused about it. We see it as something bad, as something that we want to avoid, we want to not deal with in our society, as opposed to a celebratory moment for the spirit who is discarnating. So I think that's also really important for us to remember. Thank you.
Excellent point. Very good.
And taking Sunshine to from this point, we must remind ourselves the affliction not go to two worlds, in a spiritual world and a physical world. We will not get rid of affliction just going to die. No, the life continues, the afflictions continue over there, and we reincarnate, bringing the afflictions from other time that we could not correct in ourselves, and we will bring them with us to face them again until we'll be strong. And then that is the cycle until we learn and until we move back up to a new vibration and deserve to be in a new dimension. I'm reading a book, and I love to read books from Brazil. Unfortunately, many of the books is still not translated to English, but the spirit is a spirit group. Is about 6 spirits. They talk about everyday life on the other side and what they do visiting us here on earth and different spiritist group, and seeing their problem, their afflictions, talking about COVID, talking about China, and it's a very wonderful book. They start to read this in April last year, and the book came this year. So it is so interesting the point that we're talking today about affliction. So what they're undergoing on the other side, have we thought about, is there a pandemic too? They need going through all of this too. They do die in the other dimension too. What is the affliction they are undergoing over there? And what the scientists of the other side are doing to protect them. We need to remind that we are a spirit being, and whatever we are, whatever our mind does, wherever in the both worlds we are living, we are the same. It's nothing different. It is so important for us to always thinking as a spiritual being, and getting better here will be better there. Getting better there, when we come back, we will do better here.
Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much, everybody, for your comments and contributions. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring to discuss? No? All right. So Charles, once more, thank you very much, my brother. This was very inspiring and touching. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, everyone.
That was beautiful.
Such a beautiful.
So guys, it is. Very good students we are. Okay, everyone. So it's now 10:57. Let's take 5 minutes break, and then we are back 11:02. All right. Okay. Don't forget your water. Don't forget to write down the names of those who you wish to bring for vibration.